What an amazing way to start the year with new ETFs for Bitcoin. We have election in Taiwan. We have the X account being hacked. We have Microsoft becoming the biggest company in the world by market cap. CPI, PPI. We have earnings, quarterly earnings, and Boeing. Oh, Boeing. Are you ready for it? Let's go. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, welcome. And if you're a repeat viewer, thank you very much for your loyalty. I'm Micha Stocks, and on this channel we talk about stocks. We summarize the week, all the news, all the important news that happened this week. And of course, nothing would change in this week, so let's dive in. This is our channel, which we have 2.5K subscribers. If you're new, it would be amazing if you can subscribe to the channel, and then of course if you'll change notifications to all, you'll get notified every week when there's a new video uploaded. Let's start with the major averages. Well, if you haven't followed, Nasdaq gained another 3% this week. S&P gained another 1.8. Dow is up 0.3, and only the Russell, well, the Russell is having a bit of a hangover from the Sylvester parties. When we look at the different indices, you can see that technology led 4.4%, communications up 2.4%, but on the flip side, energy down 2.3%, and utilities down 1.8%. Magnificent 7 are still magnificent? According to this week, the answer is yes. Nvidia is up 11% after climbing over the $503 per share. They went up. The easy target is to 600, then 630. Amazon up 6.6%, and only Tesla from the Magnificent 7 down 7%. And it's a good opportunity to remind everyone that everything and anything that you see on this video is not financial advice. It's only for our entertainment and educational purposes. So if you do want to make some kind of moves and changes, please consult your financial advisor. Crypto market, yes, ETFs were approved. Yes, Bitcoin didn't really like it. And if you ask yourself how come, well, it's not because of inflows. It's not because of anything else. It's mainly because of a lot of repositioning around investors that were with miners stocks. Some of the money was in GBTC and other players. So it's kind of a reposition in the next few days. And we'll see probably in a week or two how Bitcoin stabilizes, down 8.9% this week. Ethereum up 9.6%. And the reason why Ethereum is up is because everyone understood what happened to Bitcoin once there was talks around ETF wrapper. If the same thing happens to Ethereum, people are starting to throw 3,000, 4,000 up in the air. We'll see. When we look at the heat map, you can see again, we're back to 2023. Technology green, energy red, and Tesla, which is energy, but in a different way. Healthcare didn't have a good week, and banks and financials as well. They had their earnings this week, at least some of the banks. Okay report, okay earnings, but not more than that. When we look at the chart, this is a major news for the week. This is Microsoft on an orange line by market cap, surpassing Apple's market cap and becoming the biggest company in the world. If you're new to the stock market and you think, wow, for the first time Microsoft surpassed Apple, well, not so fast. In the past, up until 2010, Microsoft was a lot bigger than Apple. Then Apple passed Microsoft for brief times during 2018 all the way to 2019. Microsoft, which is the orange line, surpassed Apple most of those years, and again in the early 2020s, you can see it here. But then Apple starts its magnificent run for a brief period. Around 2021, Microsoft passes Apple, and we are back at the cat and mouse chase here. Will this be a new era, or Vision Pro would change everything? We'll talk about Vision Pro in a second, but that brings us to the biggest companies in the world, and here they are: Microsoft, then Apple, Aramco, which is not traded in any stock exchange, at least on the Western stock exchanges, Google or Alphabet, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, Berkshire, Tesla, and Eli Lilly. Are you ready for the news of the week? Let's dive in. And actually, it's very difficult to decide which one is the most important. So I'll start actually with the newest ones. Taiwan chose a new president. Lai Ching-te is the new president from the DPP, a party that is opposed in the most dramatic way between the three to the involvement of China. President Xi, of course, already says that it doesn't change anything. They still want to conquer back Taiwan. And actually, this might heat up things between China and Taiwan even more than they are. Keep your eye open on that area as well. We had CPI this week. It came up at 3.4%. You can see that we had a monthly gain of 0.3 versus 0.1 that was expected. So how come the market shook it off in the way that it did? Well, when you dive into the specific numbers, there is a very big problem around shelter. I'm highlighting this line here, the shelter line. The reason for that is from different kind of data points that we have, we know that real estate, shelter is dropping like a rock, but it's not yet in the numbers of the CPI. The impact of shelter by percentage of impact is very, very strong. So on one side, you're still seeing increase in price in shelter, but in reality, you know that it's not happening. So the market kind of looked at that and said, okay, if that's mainly the reason or the impact is the strongest, maybe we shouldn't be so worried because all the others like food and energy and all that is pretty aligned with the 2 to 3% range. We started by that and we'll continue by that. Bitcoin ETFs, 11 different ETFs came to the market. They can flood, that's a bit optimistic, floodgate to $30 trillion, but it does open up a lot of investors to investing in Bitcoin through the wrapper of an ETF. It's a more safe wrapper to invest in the ETF. And in the first 2 days of trading, we did see very, very high volumes. Some of them were extracting money from GBTC and moving it to others. Some were moving from platforms to the ETFs. And most of it is new money that came in to the Bitcoin, to the crypto environment. And this is the reaction of ex-safety to the accusation by the SEC of being hacked. So the story is, if you haven't been aware of that, a day before the approval of the ETF, actually almost 24 hours before, a tweet comes out from the SEC account on X. Yeah, when you combine them together, it doesn't sound that good. From the SEC account on X, that they approved the ETF. The market is happy, excited. 15 minutes later, there's a tweet by Gary Gensler, head of the SEC, saying, it wasn't me. Sounds more like a song by Shaggy, but in this case, it really wasn't him. Apparently, the SEC didn't have two-factor authentication, so someone hacked. Yes, no, was it a dry run? Who knows? We just know that X says, yes, it was hacked. We also had PPI this week, which came better than expected, actually better than the CPI. The producer price index, which is not impacted from real estate, came down. It does support the fact that we do see prices cooling. But all that is bringing the market to be super, super, super optimistic. The market is currently forecasting rate cuts every meeting in the next 7 meetings starting March. Every meeting. I personally, look, I'm not the market. The market decides what it decides. From personal perspective, I think that March rate cut means that or CPI is dropping and we're not seeing the right numbers, or something is very close to breaking or even broken and the Fed needs to fix it. Otherwise, I don't see a reason. Labor is still strong. CPI is still higher than the target, but market has a different view than me. Tesla stopping their production in Berlin factory from January 29th to February 11th. The reason for that is the Houthis in Yemen that are slowing the ships, actually diverting the ships coming through the Suez Canal. And also Hertz is selling around 20% of their EVs, most of them Teslas, or some of them Teslas, and that will, of course, create downside pressure on used cars for Tesla. Amazon and iRobot, well, that merger is kind of in the middle right now between the European Union and Amazon deciding to play nicely with the European Union or not. iRobot, ticker IRBT, fell during the week because the merger might not happen after all. And Kathy Wood, going back to the Bitcoin ETF, she predicts a $1.5 million per Bitcoin by 2030. She might be off by $500,000. I'll be good with the $1 million per Bitcoin, but 1.5 is very, very, very optimistic and aggressive. Will she be right? Who knows? We're also starting to pick up in layoffs. Google laying off hundreds of people, Amazon laying off hundreds of people. We hear more and more places laying off. Something is around the corner, and we need to be very well aware of that. And we also saw a merger between Chesapeake Energy and Southwest Energy, $7.4 billion acquisition, mostly stock and cash. Netflix has seen another increase in their ad-supported tier. They surpassed 23 million subscribers, which is amazing because these are the password-sharing customers, new money coming into Netflix, and assuming that it's not customers that downgraded. This is very, very interesting. Tesla announced Model 3, their Highland project coming to North America, and Boeing 737 MAX, we talked about in the last weekly summary, that Alaska Air had their fuselage and the door came out. We saw that. The good thing is nothing happened. During the weekend, we hear that passenger plane returns from Japan, Air Nippon, returns to, I don't remember to which airport, with 737-800. They're reporting that they saw a crack in the cockpit window. Boeing just can't find the good footing anywhere. Someone that does is Oxy, where Berkshire is now an owner of 34% of Oxy already. And although Warren Buffett says he doesn't want to take Oxy private, with the amount of buying that they're doing, I don't see a reason why the company should stay in the stock market, should stay public and not go private. It doesn't seem like there's a good reason for that. Google just announced a new feature in their Google Maps, which will enable customers to see where they have charging spots along the way. Morgan Stanley's Mike Wilson goes back to being a bear and saying the stock market rally is over unless economic growth picks up. Okay. Unless stocks go up, they should go down. That's my summary for that. Microsoft $13 billion investment in OpenAI is now under scrutiny by the European Union or the European Union merger probe. And when you follow these headlines, you see that the Europeans are a lot more into filing lawsuits against American companies versus doing something with their companies. Elliott Management is building a $1 billion stake in the Tinder owner, which is Match Group, MTCH, a company that is actually, the results are actually okay. The stock is behaving poorly, and I believe that's where Elliott thinks that they have the ability to increase the price, and this is going to happen next weekend. Orders for the Vision Pro, February 2nd, deliveries. Those were all the headlines for the week. When we look at the week ahead, Monday, no trading, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Tuesday through Friday, we don't really have big economic calendar events. What we do have is ramping up the reports. We're getting most of the banks. We're starting to get even companies outside the realm of financials. So we're getting Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Interactive Brokers, PNC Bank, Discover, US Bank Corp, and more and more. Thursday is very important to hear from Taiwan Semi. And Friday, we're starting to hear from energy companies like Huntington and Schlumberger, or SLB, their new name. Sorry for mentioning otherwise, etc. That brings us to the S&P. And before that, let's look at the fear and greed. We are now at the 71 greed, which means that we cool down a bit from the extreme greed. That brings us to the S&P. You can see the green line being the moving average, 50-day moving average. We are still far from the 50-day moving average. We have not created a new all-time high on the S&P 500. If you exclude dividends. If you add dividends, of course, we're at all-time high territory. And we still have the very strong resistance around 479.9. If we break through that, that means we created an all-time high, and that will reduce the fear of this being a double top. If we get a double top on the S&P, we might see a drop all the way down. We'll see to where we do have here an upward channel that we might hit around 433 on the SPY. So next few days would be very dramatic. If this plays out as a double top, we might see a very big drop, or if we go through it, new all-time high. Since I wasn't in the future, and probably you weren't in the future, you should tune in next week to hear if we're in a double top territory, which is a technical term of a price that isn't able to break 2 times. That's why it's double top. Or we broke and we're in all-time territory. Micha Stocks here saying thank you very much for your views. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Till next time, bye-bye.